Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Deadly
Deadly
and
and Unfiltered.
Unfiltered. This is episode 3. So, episode 3, I asked my dad to come on. We're going to have a little conversation and we'll just call it Conversations with Dad. And so, Dad, you want to introduce yourself?
Dance, um, Dwayne Sinclair, Nitisinikasan. I just want to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I am Shikaina's dad, like she said, and I am a father of three, two daughters and one son. I'm a grandpa of eight beautiful grandchildren who bless my life each and every day. And I'm also a brother. I am a coworker to many, and yeah, I just want to come on in this podcast and support my daughter any which way that I can, and share some knowledge and have some laughs along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one thing I wanted to start off with, will kind of probably just jump right in, is how you got your name.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's my favorite
everybody,
story.
everybody always asks us when we tell them the names of our children, and then as soon as we say your name, their eyebrows they pop up right away, and
Oh, because I'm the first.
yeah, yeah, their eyebrows pop up right
Yeah.
away. And so, anyways, here goes. We were in Bible school in Saskatoon, and mom was pregnant, and she was like about, I think, maybe 5 6 months pregnant, and we were undecided on a name, and we weren't quite sure. um, we were just undecided,
Mm-hmm.
and so uh, I could see mom's frustration, and so I prayed that night, and we went to sleep, and went to sleep, and boy, I had a dream that night. I had a dream that night. Um, I dreamt that I was at an elder's home, and this elder's name was Jim, old elder Jim Mackay, and it was a very brief uh, dream. We were at his home, and he was sitting there on the chair, and we were just up and ready to leave, and we were saying our goodbyes. And then I remember I got up and I walked towards the doorway. I opened the door, and then he raised his hand, and then he yelled at me. He didn't yell at me, but he yelled. He said, Shekinah, Shekinah glory. He yelled at me. And I woke up right then and there. I woke up, and when I woke up, I said that name right away. I said, Shekinah, Shekinah glory. I said, and then right away, mom was up, and mom right away says, "That's what we're going to call our daughter."
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't realize the significance of what had happened there, for a lot of reasons. Ignorance was one of them. I'm ignorant, meaning not knowing the significance of your name. So, and I never heard that word before. I never it was a word that was I just did not know anything about that word.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to school that morning. We went to class that morning, and we had an elder teaching us. His name, I'm pretty sure it's Merrick, um, but he was an elderly gentleman, minister, and he was teaching us. Lo and behold, he was teaching us Bible history, and I was thinking, like, oh wow, what a uh, it was just like everything was just in proper sequence to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
So I approached him, got to class, and I approached him, and then I asked him. I says, I said, Mr. Merrick, I said, you ever hear this word? I, I, I told him, and he was looking down at some papers there, and then um, he says, "Give me 1 second," he says, and I said, kind of jumped the gun there, and I said, "You ever heard the word Shekinah?" And then right away, as soon as I said that, he had his head down and he looked up right away, and he says, "Where did you hear that?"
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, I thought I did something wrong or I said something wrong, but apparently, um, I asked him. I said, "Why?" I said, "But is there something wrong?" And he says, "No." He says because that word that you just spoke, he says that word is not in English dictionaries. It's not in English books. He says that word can only be found hidden within Hebrew text. And the way that I found it was in it's a book called a lexicon. And what a lexicon does is it takes apart words and breaks them down into pieces. And this word was found, well, I did a little bit of searching afterwards, and then this word was found within the Hebrew text. So, you know how every word has a meaning. So, I mean, to make it, what's the word? Easy to understand, I guess. Um, to make it easy to understand, the way that I would describe that word is Shekinah glory means the tangible presence of God. If that's even, I know to the natural mind it uh, may seem a little bit off, but to a spiritual mind, it would mean, um, connecting with God on a very spiritual level. And at the time, I was in deep pursuit of God, and um, loved loved His Word, still do, still the reason why I'm here today. Um, and searching through the Scriptures, found out that the only way that Shekinah glory is not even mentioned in the Old King James version. The only way that can be attained in the Old Testament was when the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies, and there he would make what's called an atonement for the sins of the people of Israel, and it was a whole process that they had to go through, and it was a very lengthy process, and but at the end of it all, it was to meet with God. Um, so after I discovered the meaning of your name, I thought to myself, it's very significant. Uh, and I don't think you yet you don't understand the full meaning of your name. Because if you did, you would be a lot different. I mean,
I'm learning.
yes, oh,
I'm
absolutely,
learning.
absolutely. But you are one of a kind. Um, I've known that since birth. Um, there
You
was a
have to say
time
that you're my dad.
there was no, but I mean, there's a time when we were sitting outside of, I'm pretty sure it was called, I don't know if it was called Tia's then, but up at the store there where Tia's is now, and you were in a baby seat, and as we were sitting there, your mom went inside the store, and you were sitting there, and then all of a sudden, I looked at you, and you looked at me, and then, oh my gosh. I mean, and I seen your big eyes looking at me, and this was like you just stared right into my soul, and we had a moment there that was, I always remember that. I always remember that. And same thing happened with JJ. Yeah, same thing happened with Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And that ever since then, it's been uh, it's been beautiful to have uh, that spiritual experience in our life. And even though we're not there right now, but
Mhm.
still, I believe in the grace of God. I believe in prayer. I believe in still reading scriptures, and
Mhm.
it's what keeps me. That's what keeps me up here and
Oh,
keeps me
jeez.
sane because I would know where I'd be without it. I probably
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even be here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Without the love of your mother, without the love of the grandkids and you
The
guys,
wisdom of me.
yes, the wisdom of Shekinah. Oh, wise one. So, yes, and your name is very significant, and I still encourage you to dig deeper. I
Mm,
believe that one day you will come to that full understanding of what it truly means.
yeah.
Like I say,
Well, Google can't tell me, so.
no, no, it'll skim the surface, but it wouldn't give you the true meaning.
It links me to like I've been seeing like TikToks and YouTubes about it a lot. Like
Yeah,
and it's from a lot of like history channels
yeah,
talking about they say it's the oh what did they say? The spiritual dwelling of God.
mm,
It's it's God's presence, not God himself, but his presence if that doesn't even make sense to me saying it, you know? But they have a way of explaining it and
Well, in the Old Testament, like I said, when the priest went into the
mhm
Holy of Holies,
mhm
there's a picture. I don't know. There's a picture where I don't even think but anyways, the way the way that what are they called? Painters
mm
would describe angels. There's two angels called cherubim and seraphim, and these two angels were placed on top of the Ark of the Covenant, and they would have their wings pointing towards each other,
mhm
and it would be on the lid of that ark, and there's two angels that were like this, and they were pointing to each other,
mhm
and when that atonement was made for the sins of the people, it says that um, that God's presence would descend, and it would come and rest right in between those two angels'
mhm
wings, and he would come and he would give instruction. He would come and give the high priest what he needed for the people,
mhm
and as well, of course, make an atonement for the sins of the people. So that's history, but as well, I mean, it's very significant because, um, after we named you Shekinah, uh, there was like, you were the only one. You were the only one. You were the original first.
OG.
You were the OG, yeah. You were the first one to have the name Shekinah, and nobody ever had a name like that. And from then on, we had probably a good handful of friends that called their daughter Shekinah after you.
Mm,
There was one, two, three that we can remember.
yeah.
That were over there that they copied us afterwards.
That's
For
funny. Funny you mentioned those friends because they actually just got a hold of me on TikTok.
oh my,
Well, he commented on my one of my I think it was my mountain video,
uh-huh.
and he says that something like I like your name. He says my brother has a daughter named Shekinah. And I said your brother, and I know like when you're going to Bible school and you talk
Yeah.
about like your Christian friends, you call each other brother and sister.
Hmm.
So then I said I went on there and I said Dwayne, like Dwayne and Cynthia Sinclair, and he says my brother in the Lord. He says yeah, that's
Hmm.
him, and I was like whoa, like small world, like
Yeah,
how'd you
Randy
find how'd you
Highway.
find my TikTok?
Randy Highway. Well, that's the whole business with TikTok and all social media. Doesn't matter what it is. It's meant
That's
to.
what I like about it though. It connects people in the weirdest ways. Like obviously you got to watch which connections you entertain, but you find people that
Yeah.
you otherwise never would have maybe even thought to check on. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
but that's cool. Like I would like to meet that other Shekinah cuz from the sounds of the old stories like we grew up together in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Yeah.
nice to reconnect with those
Yeah.
friends.
And you guys were babies at the time, but
Yeah.
at the same time, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it would be nice to have some
It'd be
kind of
nice
a
for you guys, you and
yes.
mom,
Oh my
and like
goodness, yes. There's so
from the
many
stories, the
memories.
stories and the old videos and photos that
Hmm.
I see, I'm like, That's the type of adult relationships that I strive to have.
And it was beautiful, beautiful. It was, it's not was not that was wasn't perfect. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't. We had our struggles, being away from home, being away from family. Um, at the same time trying to keep up with studies,
Mm-hmm.
trying to maintain, good conduct over there in
Mm-hmm.
spite of each and every struggle that we faced.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just thinking back now, I was just thinking about it this morning. We had one morning where we all slept in, and everybody slept in because there was a big snowstorm that night, and it knocked out the power. So that means it knocked out all the alarms because there wasn't no cell phones back then. This was a long time ago. So long time ago then, when we were going to school, and then we had that morning that everybody's scrambling to get up and get ready and go to school. So I started getting calls because I was one of the ones that only had a vehicle, and I had this big old what do you call it, Oldsmobile. It was an Oldsmobile Classic, and it could fit probably seven big brothers and sisters in there. So eight altogether, actually. Anyways, we all piled in, and seven. Yeah, there was like eight of us in there. Four in the no, four in the front, and no, three in the front and four in the back. So seven. So, anyways, we were taking off and um, getting ready to go out the door, and then I remember I had this feeling to get down on my knees and just pray. So I got down on a knee, took a knee, and I bowed my head and I said, Lord, I pray just watch over us today as we go to school and get us there safely. And then boom, I stopped praying and then got up and went out to the car. It was all ready, warmed up, and ready to go. So we started going, and we all piled in one right after the other. And we had like about seven of us in there, like I said. And as we were driving down the road, we come across this bridge. And this bridge was a pretty lengthy bridge. And we come across this bridge that was icy. And so as we were going up this bridge, and then we can go down the bridge, and it was a little bit steep, coming down that little bit of a hill. And as we were coming down there, I don't know what happened, but we started fishtailing, and I fishtailed this way, and then fishtailed this way, and then all of a sudden I did a full 360 right around, and then all this time, my friends in the back, I heard my brother Garfield Sinclair, his name goes by the name of Darren Sinclair, Stephanie Bradburn. I used to be Stephanie Bradburn, sorry, and then William, and they all were screaming in the back because we were on a two lane. It was two-lane traffic, so I don't know how I did not hit a car that was parked on this side, and thank God there was no oncoming traffic because we would have got hit. And but by the grace of God, we were spared that day. And all I remember hearing those ladies in the back, Jesus! Oh my gosh, it was so funny. We had such a beautiful friendship with these guys, eh? And I mean, we seen it all, man. I've been through it all. Oh my goodness, we had a very very good time over there. um, your mom always looked after me in regards to the first year that we were there, and she always had my clothes washed and ready, and for the next day. And
Mhm.
so this one morning, I got up, and so I no, actually it was the second year because mom was in classes that second year.
Mhm.
So got up. We both went to school, and when we got to school, why I was wearing this beautiful silk shirt that I loved, and it was a dark, kind of like a brownish shirt, and,
Mhm.
and a button up in, and So anyways, I got the class and I was walking around. And I went to go get up to go get some coffee. And as I went to go get some coffee, mom calls me over and says, Dwayne, don't move. I said, what? Put your jacket on. Why? I said, she says, your shirt is ripped right down the back. Oh my gosh.
When was this? When did she say that?
That was in class, man.
Well,
I
I
went
mean, like, what time of the day? Like, did you go all day
it's
like
like
that?
no, it was about 10:30. It
Nobody
was a
said
well,
anything.
I was sitting down at my chair and I was wearing my jacket, so I took my jacket off at the chair,
Oh
put
yeah.
it on the back of my chair. So then when I got up to get the coffee, she noticed it first, thank God, and she spared me the embarrassment of anybody else see.
For the
Oh my
love.
God. I don't know how anybody else did not notice, but mom noticed and called me over right away and told me, that I got a big hole in my back,
Jeez.
my shirt. Oh my
For
gosh.
the love.
That was so crazy.
I just wanted to go back for a minute here on what
Yep.
you said before you did the crazy ride and the ladies freaking out in
Hmm.
the back. But the significance of you feeling that need to pray
Yeah.
before you even left the house.
Yeah.
It's just, and I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, he's really just watching out for you, eh? Like
Oh
all of
man.
us, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just he's just always there. Then just that, like, what if you left right at that moment you needed to leave and ignored your
Yep.
urge to pray?
Yes.
Who knows
Yes.
what would have happened? Maybe there would have been oncoming traffic, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it, God forbid, the accident would have been worse.
Yeah.
Like you, by taking that little minute to just stop and pray, like,
Yes.
it's kind of like, it reminds me of that they call it now the burnt toast theory.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
gonna have to find the exact definition, and I'm gonna put it like up here in a link here. But to the gist of it is to slow down,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and don't be so in a rush for everything. Don't rush things. There's everything happens for a reason, and what's meant for you will happen. Don't push it, and if it doesn't feel right, if something's stopping you, just take a minute, because you just never know what could happen.
Well,
So.
that yes, and two, when I was a Christian, that we were taught lots.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I learned was you don't ignore a prompting like
Mm-hmm.
that, because when you're a Christian, you devote your life to God and you become filled with His Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more than your conscience.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks to your conscience, yes, but if it if you learn to listen to His voice, then um, good things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, well then the results of that are usually our doing,
Yep.
and because we are born with our own free will, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
But more or less, you're just missing out on the glory of
oh
God. You're
yeah,
missing out, really, because
yeah.
when I know I'm not Christian, never been Christian, but growing up in a Christian household, I know that peace.
Mm-hmm.
And especially being an adult now, I know what, like, just playing worship and just stopping because I'm just crying uncontrollably. I can't explain that feeling where I just have to cry, and
Mm-hmm.
where I just have to get down and pray. And I
Yes.
don't even know what I'm praying for. I just pray and I just talk to God, whether it's in times of need. And I've learned that it's important to not only turn to God in times of fear or hard times, you got to go to Him and, be thankful, be grateful, and think, especially the times where He blesses you, and He's bringing that peace to you. You
Mm.
have to stop and say thank you.
We don't realize the power of our prayers
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
we, you
And you got to
know,
be careful what you pray for.
well, yeah, yeah, but at the same
Be
time,
specific.
at the same time, I would rather pray,
Hmm.
and God's not going to give you something that you know
You
can
can't
handle
handle.
or not
Hmm.
meant for you,
Hmm.
and I would rather, pray a prayer, keep that contact with God,
Hmm.
and than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, I believe in common sense as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like you live right,
Mm-hmm.
and you behave yourself and act right, conduct
Mm-hmm.
yourself in a good way.
Yeah.
Good things will come your way too.
Oh yeah, it's all about your mindset too.
Yeah,
I swear.
and opposed to that, in opposition to that,
Mm-hmm.
is that if you do wrong and speak ill of people or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
um, don't act right, then well, what do you expect?
It's like a boomerang. You got to think of your words like a boomerang out there.
Yes,
You got to be careful
absolutely.
what you put out there. You put out good, good's gonna come back to you. You're
Hey, hey.
spreading that bad medicine, that caca's, it's gonna come back to you. Always does.
Yeah,
Then you
yeah,
start wondering why you're having hard times in your home or at work or with
yes,
your kids or with your friends, why certain things are falling out. It's, well, that it always comes back.
yeah,
Always does.
yeah,
So you just got to be careful.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think the thing too that I've learned the most over the years, is to protect your home.
Mm.
And that means, you know, um, physically and
Mhm.
spiritually.
Mhm.
Um, if these walls could talk,
Mhm.
what they would say,
Don't.
you know. But the good thing is that mom and I we did our best and tried our best. We made a lot of mistakes along the way, but
Mhm.
we also made a lot of good decisions along the
Mhm.
way, of which we're proud of.
Mhm.
If I could go back and tell my younger self anything, I'd probably just stay silent, because I am what I am
Mhm.
today because of you know
Your
my
journey.
it's my journey. I can't
Mhm.
change it. No use, because I believe that question is, well, it means you regret.
Yeah.
And you know uh, why regret? Why live in regret when
Mhm.
you don't have to? Be happy with where you are now. Be thankful for what you have and who you have in your life now, and go from there.
Mhm.
Build from there. Hey, hey.
I guess.
Long time ago, we didn't have to worry so much as youth do today.
Yeah.
For one thing, we didn't have phones like
Mhm.
you kids do. Um, the closest thing I had to any electronics was a little tiny handheld video game, and which required me to have, I think it was eight eight C batteries. For those of you that know what eight a C battery is, so and it was wow. It was like that was a big thing back then. Those little tiny games. Um, Technology. Did we have any technology? Oh, we had Walkmans. Uh,
Mm.
we had Walkmans, and then later on came Discmans. I think they're called. And so, but I still see the same thing that kids face today. Um, is that
Mm.
trauma, not trauma, but mental strain.
Mm.
I still see that. Uh,
Was there mental health back in your day, like the way that it is today, like anxiety, depression? Like, was that ever a thing? Was that a problem back then?
not, no, not that I can remember. I was thinking about it. Uh, we had a different way of dealing with things like that. We didn't approach it the same way as it's approached today.
Yeah.
Uh, we dealt with it within our own family,
Uh
just
huh.
like we did growing up. We dealt with a lot of things on our own,
Uh huh.
and because of, I guess, the strength that we had, the knowledge that we acquired through being who we were at the time, it gave us a great advantage
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't plagued by drugs and alcohol.
Mm.
You know, um,
Or having the world shoved in your
yeah,
face 24/7. That's why I think mental health has been like a real, what's the word am I looking for? Like an epidemic? Like,
yes, pandemic. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
because it's ever since, like, I come from a generation, I can remember dial-up internet. I can remember before iPods. I remember when the first iPod was released. You know, those little, like, they were, well, I think it started out like, well, the iPod Nanos, and then there was the ones with the screens. They were silver, and you could only play like that. I'm just like copying the
I was
thing.
just thinking about the
Like,
first time that we bought those for you girls, and
yeah.
you girls were so
My
excited.
God. And then there
Oh,
was the Blackberries before that, you know, the
yeah.
BBMs. That was a big thing. And it's so weird being in a generation. And I can't imagine how weird it is for you, especially.
Hmm.
Like, coming from a generation that never had anything like that. Like, in your wildest dreams, did you ever think, like, that you would have something like that? Because I remember when I was little, I remember thinking like, because we'd go to the library for reading and research and stuff, right? And we'd go pick
Yeah.
up books, whatever, and then we'd bring them back to our class. And I remember thinking as this little girl, like, man, I wonder if in the future they're gonna have, you know, like these desks that are screens, and we just have everything, like we could just search up whatever we're looking for,
Hmm.
and
Lo and
to
behold,
me now, it's like, well, that's a laptop. You're describing a laptop, but I'm like, back in the day, I just imagined it as this big thing, you know, like,
like now you can do that on a
yeah,
phone.
oh
Never
yeah,
mind a
oh
laptop.
yeah,
You can do that on a phone. Your phone is like a mini computer. And now the irony of it is they say that when you have the nicest phone or even
mm,
a phone,
mm-hmm,
let alone any kind of phone, doesn't matter if it's iPhone or what's the other thing called, Android.
yep,
Yeah, and I don't know what that is. That's a totally different topic,
mm-hmm,
anyways. But I mean, um, Android, cell phones, everything is just so, we're going so fast in a generation that the connection, well, the connection is causing a great disconnection in what matters the most,
mm-hmm,
and that's family.
mm-hmm,
And I'm guilty of it too. Even when sometimes when we're here or at your home, and we're having supper or whatever, and I get a text from your mom, get off your phone.
mm-hmm.
So like I do,
Uh-huh.
and I have to remind myself and think back, that memories are created by being present with our grandkids
Mm-hmm.
and with you. That's the way memories are created, not
Mm-hmm.
by sitting there like this and
Mm.
looking, having our
Or sitting there like this, like
yeah,
recording everything, like
yeah,
it's nice to look back on, but you're also not present, you
yeah,
know?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's why our grandkids today desire so much of each other,
Mm.
because when they're together, like, rarely you see them with a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. We have to preserve that,
Yeah.
and I want them to grow up like that,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to when they do have technology, and if they're inside, and that's where kind of sometimes the arguments start and whatnot, and
Yeah.
we have to take them away for a little while,
Yeah.
and uh, but yeah, the times has changed. The times have changed dramatically. Oh my goodness! I mean, even oh, where can I? Um, it's changed in regards to even going for water down at um, over at Auntie Ada's. It used to be, I used to run for water across the road at Auntie Ada's, but now I go for water at Joe Sinclair's place, and I I, I purchase the water. We don't drink our water from the tap here, and that's because of well that has been um, it gets the, what's the sediment, iron. It's the iron,
Mm.
that iron buildup in there, and it's not healthy to drink. Um, that hasn't changed, but I mean, again, let's get back to the question: what has changed?
Mm.
What has changed? What's different? My goodness. Uh,
Guess it's just comparing, like, to how, I guess,
we
this.
had, okay. Let's do this. We had music. We had we grew up with the best music in the
Mm-hmm.
80s,
Yeah.
70s,
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
We had the best music hands
Mm-hmm.
down
Mm-hmm.
compared to the music that I hear today.
It's
Mm,
trash.
yeah, I don't really approve of it.
There's
Most of
no
it,
meaning. It's
yeah,
just sounds
yeah,
and noises. It's not. And I
yeah.
feel so old saying that because you probably thought that about my music, where I have some music that I really enjoy. I mean, there is some good music out there today,
So I
that
always told you to turn it down.
but comparing it to, I love the 80s. I love,
Yes.
well, of course, I grew up with that, right? You guys blasting that Guns N' Roses DVD,
Mm-hmm.
that cassette tape, I
Yeah.
mean.
Def Leppard. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We come from a time where, we had to sit with cassette tapes. Now let's talk a little bit about
Mm.
that. We had to sit with cassette tapes. I remember tapes that I stole from my uh, older sister Nancy.
The truth comes out.
I stole a tape from her once, and it was a Brian Adams tape. Oh my gosh, summer of '69. It was the bomb, man. And
No problem.
took it to the bridge. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about after too, and that's something where the bridge is yeah. Well, remind me of that.
Hmm.
And that's somewhere where we took a video cassette tape still, and we would sit and listen, just sit and listen, and that was the best there. That summer of '69. I don't know if Nancy knew it was her tape because of where they were staying, and but anyways, that tape broke,
Oh.
and when a tape cassette tape breaks, you have to be very meticulous in regards to putting it back together again. You got to cut a tiny little strip of tape enough to fit or enough to fix that tape.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I mean, you had to cut it perfectly because if you didn't cut it perfectly, then it's gonna get caught
Ooh.
up in your cassette player. So I had to fix that tape, and boy, man, I became a master of fixing tapes. And I had a bunch of friends that had tapes that had broken like that, and then they would bring them to me, and I'd fix them. But so I fixed that, and I took it back, and I what's the word? I unstole it to my sister Nance, and I don't know if she knew, but
She knows
probably
now.
she knows now, yeah. But anyways, I thanked her for letting me borrow it. No, no,
I could just see her like, ooh, you.
it was it was a time where, I mean, if you heard it on the radio, you wanted the cassette tape,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we didn't have those cassette tapes um, at our fingertips like we
Mm-hmm.
do today.
Mm.
All you got to do is,
Quick search on Spotify or
yes,
YouTube.
exactly, yes, Siri, what do you call that? Even Siri's trying to what's called me right now. What do you call that song, or name
Yeah, yeah,
name that tune?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, AI is
Oh my god,
on a whole
that's a
different
whole
level.
other.
Yeah, it's scary at the same
Yeah,
time. I mean, you don't even know what's real anymore.
I don't even remember when it was introduced. Honestly, one day it was just there, like in your face, like just so advanced. I don't even think there was like a slow approach to it.
No, it's just they just threw it in our faces, and I think uh, I think it's only gonna get it more crazy.
Oh yeah, 100%. We've seen the movies. And
And
you'd think because we've seen the movies, then that's from your generation, like Terminator, freaking
oh man,
all that stuff. You'd
yeah,
think we'd learn something,
machines,
but no, I don't know what that is. Is
but
that a movie? Or are you just saying
well,
machines?
machines.
Oh,
No, that's where they say that the machines are gonna rise up and take over.
jeez, yeah.
Now that's possible today
Mm-hmm.
because you hear of Alexa and what was the other one? Siri talking about it
Mm-hmm.
again, and when you ask them a question in
I
regards to
gotta do
when's the
that.
world gonna end, or and
Uh-huh.
then they will start talking about AI taking over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you guys have different things to worry about now.
Yeah. Like, well, what kind of
We
stuff
didn't.
did you guys worry
We worried
about?
about nuclear war.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember coming out of my room one time, and I was 12 years old. Coming out of my room, it was after no, it was evening, and I remember we had this big old 32-inch. That was the biggest of the time, television, It was even black and white, for crying out loud. So we had this television that was playing, and it was on a show or a news bulletin popped up on the screen, and it said, I could see a news reporter on this big gigantic warship in the background, and I guess he was a war reporter, and he was you could see a big background, and it showed this big bright light, and they said, and there you have it. We have that first nuclear bomb that just exploded, and it's even though it was miles away, and they said, I forget who they said at the time, either it was China or Russia, fired off the first missile, and it reached U.S. soil, and that's all I had to hear. I turned around, I went running into my room, I fell to my knees, and I started crying, and I prayed. I didn't know what to pray. I just asked God to, I have mercy, or I just prayed and said, Lord, please protect us. And those were the biggest fears that we had. It was nothing like we see today.
And what about Y2K?
Well, yes.
Where were you?
I was working on my second year at CSS. I actually did a piece kind of like this, um, not with this such setup like this, but did a piece where I recorded a number of students, all of which are all grown up today.
Seen that.
Yeah, all of which are all grown up today, and ask them questions.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen
Yeah.
Y2K? And a lot of
Freaking them
them.
out.
So yeah, a lot of them were scared. A lot of them, the question was, or the answer, a lot of their answers were, I think that the world's going to end. I think that computers are going to crash. And then there were those who says, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think that the computers will figure it out themselves, and it'll just turn over to 2000. And which it did.
What was the deal with that, anyways? Like, what was this whole? What was that about?
From what I can remember, they were saying how the time on the digital clock, they wouldn't recognize. They wouldn't be able to recognize 99 and then to 2000. So 1999, they thought it was going to stop, and then what? Then all the computers that they had at that time would shut down.
Like, time is a concept. Then just reset the time. Like,
I know,
but it doesn't make any sense. Like, well, now, but back in the day, as this, because that was all new.
Yeah.
Like, it was probably very scary.
Well, it was
because I remember we talked about that actually. I talked about that with Auntie and Uncle and one of our friends on Friday nights.
Yep.
And then it was laughing because Auntie was like looking at Uncle and she's like, and he went to work and left me alone, and I'm freaking. Auntie,
Yeah.
she was freaking out, and I'm like, I can just imagine you like freaking right up.
Yeah, it was quite the time. It was quite scary. A lot of not knowing, and
What's it like raising kids in such a fastly advancing
wow
age generation? I guess
it was tough to keep up.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted to provide you guys with these toys or whatnot, electronic toys, and they were expensive.
Yeah.
When they first came out, mind you, not compared to what they are now. Holy heck!
Everything's expensive.
Yes, everything, including gas, for crying out loud. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things that we had to um, go without, and we didn't mind. We didn't mind. That was one thing I know, and that I'm thankful for today. Is the attitude that mom had. That yeah, we did go through hard times, and we went through. I mean, we went without a lot, certain things in life, and but that wasn't where our hearts were. Even to this day, like big extravagant trips. No offense to those who go on them, but I mean, that wasn't our thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that we were okay with that.
yeah,
I mean, take us to the mountains. Heck,
yeah,
that was our thing.
yeah, yeah,
We loved the trip. We loved it so much. We took you guys
yeah.
there. Wiki Donald's. That's all I remember. And Coda in the background
We
there.
have to go recreate some of those videos
Yes,
and those
yeah, for sure,
pictures.
man.
Well,
My
that's what we're
goodness.
doing this summer.
So uh, yeah, times have changed dramatically.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even express how much because technology has advanced so much. I mean, look at you sitting in my living room with an iPhone and two microphones and discussing it. And I mean, where we're at today, I never would have thought of this would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Watching on your TV screens.
yeah, for sure. Next question.
What were the? I guess we kind of touched on that. What were the biggest struggles your generation faced? Having to
I did
research by
mention
library and not by phone.
I did mention mental health. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I remember we dealt with things on our own. We kind of, if we had problems, we would go to the oldest. I always went to my mom.
Yeah.
I grew up with my granny and grandpa,
Yeah.
and I always went to my. I call her my mom because I grew up as thinking of her as my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So went to my mom, and she would always have an answer for me. Always, always, always. And I think that's why you know I I I'm so grounded today is because of their wisdom, their
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, especially their love
Mm-hmm.
that they passed on to me,
Mm-hmm.
my dad included.
Yeah.
Um, but my mom more. I
Yeah.
learned so much more from my mother because she demonstrated what love
Mm.
was.
Yeah.
My dad did too, but not as much, and not the way like my mom did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my mom was a powerful woman.
Wish I could
Uh,
have got to meet
that's one thing I often uh, think about is what they would have thought of you. Oh my gosh, they would have loved you. She would have loved you.
her.
My dad met you.
He loved
He
us.
loved us.
We
Yeah,
were
and
the
that's what he always used to
yeah.
say. That's what he always used to say. Boy,
I remember him.
if your mom met, these
Yeah.
kids, he said, yeah, he just sit there and shake his head, you know, and he
Getting
would say,
after you for bothering us and trying to chase us with darn baby powder on your
how about
face.
I was just gonna say the baby powder incident.
I remember, as young as I was, because I was 5
Yeah,
before he passed away.
yeah.
And that's so weird to me how I can remember very clearly like the way his room was, the way his room smelled, like the I don't know if it was aftershave or cologne that he had,
Excuse me.
or I remember hearing his slippers on the
Yeah,
floor and the way
yeah.
he'd stir his coffee and his tea,
Oh
that
my gosh.
spoon hitting all corners of, no,
Mm-hmm.
no corners on the
Yeah.
cup,
Uh,
but
Yeah,
hitting
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Sound
I
like
remember all of that.
sound like a fire engine. Or no, no, a bell. Sound like a bell.
Yeah, a bell.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. But
And
yeah,
his old boy.
yeah, yes. It was amazing, amazing. His final years in his life that we had with him,
Mm-hmm.
where something that I'll always cherish.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the he made me so proud. I remember the time when I shot my first duck and I brought it home. I showed him when I shot my first duck. It was actually a fluke shot, one of the first ones. The very first one was a fluke shot. Um, Me and uh, my other hunting buddy were walking back towards our quad, and um, I heard the flutter of the duck's wings behind us, and it was just fast, behind us. And then When I heard that, I spun around really fast and I just shot right up into the air. And then boom, I got him. Wow, I fluked it off, eh? And boy, I seen that duck going and I went and ran for him. I got him. And then on this duck, he had a little tiny silver ring on his leg, wrapped around his leg. So I took it to my other buddy, and he told me what it was. Apparently, this duck was being tracked. They did it as to see where they migrate to. So, but it was also a trophy. So he says it's yours. He says it's a trophy. He says you could even mail it back to them, and then they'll mail you back some money
Okay.
for it. But I didn't. I just kept it. So, anyways, but yeah, when I shot the first duck in that and made my dad so proud,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he loved the idea that it became.
Did you do anything with it? With the duck?
I don't remember if I know we got it. We gave them to elders, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, we gave them all to elders. Well, of
Nice.
course, we prepped them and that and handed it off to them. But yeah, I remember that. And like I was saying, I'll never forget, my dad and the teachings that he left me. And beautiful. I have videos of him still that we need to get, what do you call that?
We gotta
Digitized.
do that. I'd like to
Yeah,
see them,
digitized. And
especially the baby powder one, because I know
yeah,
that's on tape.
oh, that was.
That was not a made up in my head recurring nightmare. It happened.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, when you're talking about the memories that you had of Papa and how you're grateful that he was here,
Hmm.
I just couldn't help but think like all my kids are gonna have that too. Because I'll keep you. Don't worry. I know we said Mike would, but I don't know Mike, man. He's kind of in his own world. But don't worry, I
Well,
got you.
but
I don't know about mom, but I
not
got
that
you.
damn old. But I
Me or Mike.
well, here's the thing. I came. I don't think I'm gonna. How can I put it? How can I put it? Um, when I came into my mom and dad's life,
Mhm.
I came into their lives when they were roughly early 50s.
Uh-huh.
So
So like the age you are now.
yeah, by the time I was 18, I think it was 18 when my mom passed away.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I might be off a year or two, but 18, and then
So she was like 68.
she was 65 when she died.
Uh-huh.
She had a rare disease called Eaton-Lambert syndrome,
Mm.
and only 1 in 25,000 Canadians.
Hmm.
I don't know why I always remembered that stat, but only 1 in 25,000 Canadians, and I think it was because the one person in this world that I was
Mm-hmm.
so madly and deeply and purely in love with and
Mm-hmm.
was taken from me. I think that's the reason why I remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stat like that, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it cut me to the core. I remember when I was standing at her bedside when she took her last breath,
Yeah.
and I remember her watching her chest stop moving. I
Mm-hmm.
remember not hearing her breathing anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and when that happened, it changed me forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right in that instant, it was, I don't know the things that were going through my head, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it wasn't good
Mm-hmm.
what was going through my head. I was so mad, I was so sad, I was so angry, I don't know what to do. I went into the bathroom and um, I remember standing there crying, and I had two marijuana joints in my pocket. I didn't really smoke like on a daily basis, only when I had a drink, and at that time I was dumb enough to be doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
not right then and there, but and then when I did, I was in that washroom, I was standing there, I was ripping up these joints, and I was
Mm-hmm.
throwing them in the toilet, and I was saying, "You're the reason why I'm mad. You're the reason why I'm sad." I said, "You're the reason why I'm so angry." And I flushed them down the toilet. And I said, "I had enough of you." I remember I go back to her room and I'd, I sat by her bed and I said my goodbyes. I said, I'm gonna change. I told her. I said I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change for the better, and I'm gonna make life better because I love you. And I came home that night. We left Winnipeg that night after most of our family did as well. And when we left Winnipeg, I looked back when we got to about the outskirts, and you could still see the lights in the air, wintertime, March, and you could still see the lights in the skyline. And I remember looking back, and I remember seeing, the lights glowing in the air like that, and it felt like we were leaving someone behind. My heart was so sore. Got home that night, and it was so home was empty. We knew mom was gone, and there's something about losing a mother that even till this day it makes my heart hurt. You know, even though it's been I don't know how many years. Mm, I don't know the exact, but over 30 years.
33.
33 years. So 33 years ago, but it's still, when I talk about it, it's still right here. But when I went home, got home, and we slept and got up the next day and had to do things like we did to get ready for this and that, and family gathering and prepping, getting ready for funeral arrangements and all that. And all through this, I was just so. Same time, I was at times getting mad, and um, I felt sad. I felt the sadness most, and uh, I I had in my mind though, that I knew I was gonna go to church.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to church, and when
Did Gran go to church?
oh yeah,
The church over here?
yeah, yeah,
So that's where you got that from?
yeah. When I made up my mind to go there to go to church, like I didn't know anything about praying or anything like that, and um, when I went to the church, I remember the doors opening. Somebody was coming out just as I was walking, getting to the doorway. So they opened both the doors, and boy, I don't know how I felt. I think this particular time in my life, it was just I still cry when I think about it because that's when I first met Jesus. When I walked through the doors, I just when the presence of God hit me, it was like this is what I needed, and I couldn't even sit. I had to sit down, and the only place that I had to sit was in the back seat there, and I couldn't even sit still for too long. I was fidgeting there, and so I wanted to go up and get prayed for, and boy, God's timing is impeccable because I walked in right when they were having their altar service. So when I got there, they were having their altar time, and I sat down for maybe a minute, and then I got up from my seat, and I remember walking down the aisle, and I still to this day I remember the way I felt it. I felt like I was carrying two big 25-pound dumbbells on both arms, and I felt like I was literally dragging them down the aisle as I was walking. And when I got to the altar, I fell down on my knees. And I remember Pastor Lawrence Murdoch coming to me and saying, he says, "What you need prayer for, son?" And I didn't know what to say. I, I was again mad and sad, and I didn't know what to. I kept on hearing these voices in my head saying, "Don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to him. He's lying to you. Don't listen to him." You don't listen to this guy. I kept on hearing his voice say, and uh, I just put my head down, and he says, "What do you want prayer from, my son?" And then I said to him, "You know what?" He says, "I think I need Jesus." I told him. He says, "You want to accept Jesus in your heart right now?" And I didn't say nothing right then. I didn't nod or nothing. Then he asked me again. He asked me a second time. And when he asked me a second time, that's when I just nodded my head and I put my head down.
Mm.
And I said yes.
You surrendered.
I surrendered. And as soon as I surrendered, I could hear those voices like they were getting further
Mm.
and further and further and further away from me till I
Mm.
couldn't hear them anymore.
Mm.
And after that, I felt a peace come over me all of a sudden like I never felt before. And
Mm.
I let it all out. I started crying and I wept like a baby.
Mm.
I cried like a little baby that night at that altar when I gave my life to Christ. And that was the moment that changed my life forever. The turnaround was instantaneous. I went from carrying a beer bottle to carrying a Bible down the road. I went
Mm.
from uh, I went from a person who was going nowhere to I have walked with purpose in my life after
Mhm.
that. And even though today that I'm not, I don't belong to a church. I don't go to church, uh, but
You belong to a church.
oh,
That will always be your
well,
church.
yeah, but I don't attend it
Yeah,
regularly.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not fully
It's,
involved in
well,
church,
it's waiting for you.
anything like
they're
that. Yeah,
they're waiting for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But at the same time, I mean,
Yeah,
it's personal
yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love God. Like I said, I don't think I'd be here if it
Hmm.
wasn't,
Well,
for
no, because you wouldn't have met my mom. No, that's a story I want to
oh
hear.
my God,
Because that was the same year you met my mom.
that following year, months later.
It had to have been months later because you said you were a baby Christian starting in a band, and
Yes. Fast forward, yeah, a few months. Um, I used to go visit Elder, what's his name, Edward and Christine Cochran, who
uh,
lived down here. That's Nap and Aggie's,
mm-hmm.
Nap's mom and dad. And I used to go visit them. And I told them one time when I went to go see them, I said, you know what? They said, there's this tent meeting that I want to go to. I said, but it's long ways from home. I said, what do you think? You think it's okay for me to go? I know I'm still young in the Lord. I said, but I really want to go.
Uh-huh.
And he says, come on. He says, we'll pray. Boy, and he prayed, man, and he had his big hand. He put my little hand into his hand, and he prayed, and boy, and I literally felt, fire
Mm.
in his hand. There's nothing like a prayer of an elder, eh?
Mm.
And boy, and I just agreed with him there. And I, we gave our hugs and said our see you laters. And um, when I was walking out towards the door, the elderly lady comes to me and she gives me a hug and she gave me a kiss on the cheek and then she shook my hand. She gave me a Pentecostal handshake. And I didn't look at it or nothing. I just put it in my pocket. And I thank you. Went home and I
What's a Pentecostal handshake?
Pentecostal handshake is when they shake your hand. They shake your hand and they have money inside their
Oh.
hand, and then they leave the money with you. Yeah. So she did a Pentecostal handshake on me, and then um, gave me a Pentecostal handshake. Then when I got home, I looked at it, and it was $5.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, that is so sweet. It was so sweet. In my and that time $5 was like it was a good amount of money,
Yeah.
but it was just the gesture,
Uh-huh.
and that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I always think about that. So, anyways, I went to Barron's. This time Annie Ross was along the boat that along for a ride.
You went by boat.
Yes.
From where?
Mhm. think from Jacket.
How long was that?
Uh, we took about an hour to get across from Jacket to Barons River.
An hour?
Yes.
Then why the heck were we going to Matheson and Pine Dock?
Because it's more dangerous.
It's more dangerous the Jacket Way.
No, it's more dangerous on the lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's another story too. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so we I remember that when we were getting right into Barons, into the what do you call that? The waters are choppy when you
Yeah.
get close to inland and that, and
Like
there's
the
always
mouth of the river
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was choppy there.
Yeah.
And then I remember Annie Ross was sitting in front of the boat. It's East Annie Ross, sorry. And then she's sitting in front of the boat, and boy, she must have been up and down about a good foot off of the, and she was just laughing. Oh my god! I remember her laughing so hard. You know, she was just, oh, she was always a barrel of laughs to have around wherever you went away. Yeah, we loved having her because she's so full of joy.
Yeah.
Always made everybody laugh. And so I got to Burns, went to the tent service. I, I I was able to drum. I played the drums, so they got me to drum that first night, and we had another drummer there, but he wasn't there yet, so they asked me to drum, and I drummed, and I was sitting on the drums playing drums, and I was probably Christian maybe 4 months already,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting there playing drums, and I didn't really know anything about lust or anything like that. If it was wrong, I knew, but like not, like. But anyways, um, so I was looking, over the crowd, and I was playing drums like that, and then all of a sudden, this one young lady caught my eye, and I watched her where she went and sat, and then sat down, and oh my gosh! And all of a sudden, little birdies started flying around my head, and little hearts, and I thought, this is a beautiful girl when I seen your mother for
No,
the
I
first
thought
time.
you were playing. She was standing on a hill.
Nope.
Oh, is that when you got off the drums?
Nope. Nope. So you listen. I'm telling you. So when I saw your mama for the first time, she was sitting in a chair, and she had this long, straight, brown, beautiful hair. Long. I remember her hair was long, right,
Mm-hmm.
almost to her butt. But anyways, and she was wearing this dark, it's like a suede jacket.
Yeah.
And then, when I remember her getting saved that night, and she got saved, and uh, I came and I greeted her and said, "Praise the Lord, sister." I said, "Congratulations." I said, "I'm so happy for you." And she looked up at me, and the very first thing that she said to me, "Are those your real curls?"
Did you have the mullet? Did you have
No,
no?
it was a mini mullet then. It was a mini mullet. It wasn't a full. No.
Are those your real curls? That's what she
Mm-hmm.
said.
Yeah, that's the first thing she said to me. And she looked at me, and I can't remember what I said, but I probably said yeah or something like that. And then, and then we just kind of, we knew each other, but then asked her name, and then she told me Cynthia. I said, "Oh, I'm Dwayne." And then we kind of, we were friends, but not close friends. Then we came across afterwards to Jacket, me and my buddies, and uh, I remember them asking to come, but they couldn't, so they came on another boat. So I was so happy that she did come along. I would really wanted to meet her more,
Mhm.
and so anyways, when we were at the place where we were staying there, the people were keeping us, and um, they came that night, evening. It was about 8 o'clock, I guess, and they came the night before the services started. So when they got there, I was so happy to see her. And um, she actually, they kept us in the same house, all of us, and she had another friend, and me and another guy were staying there He was a younger guy, I remember, than me. Anyways, you know, I remember that night. We ended up staying up that night, your mom and I. And I shared everything with her. I did my best to impress her. And um, we had, we fell in love. I didn't know. We fell in love though at that moment. She fell in love with me. I'd like to say she fell in love with me first, but it was an eventual falling in love, and it took time. But oh my gosh, it was just so beautiful. I often think about the way we fell in love, and it was powerful. At the same time, we knew that if we pursued it any further, that we were going into unforbidden territory, and but we loved each other, and we wanted to be with one another. Um, I pursued your mother.
How old
Uh,
were you?
I was 19 years old.
So
Yeah,
she was
17.
17.
Yeah, and all legality put aside, no, you know, there was that. So that night was what set it off,
Mm-hmm.
and we met a mouse named Arthur.
Mm.
We drank 3 pots of coffee through the whole night. We stayed up right till about 7 that next morning. And yeah, I mean, the rest was history. I mean, we fell in love like that. And eventually we didn't come together right away, but not till later. And got in trouble for it, got called out for it. But we still stood our ground and said, you know what? Okay, we're going to get married. They didn't like the idea of us going to church and not being married.
Mm.
So, and I understood that.
Mm-hmm.
So I told them, okay. I said we'll get married, and then boom, we had I call it a shotgun wedding. 4 months we were together. We got married in December 29, and even though it was everything just worked out. I mean, our families made it happen,
Uh-huh.
and we had a really good wedding, and it was a beautiful, beautiful wedding, and they made it so beautiful for us. And all this time, all that mattered to us was just getting married and starting our lives together. And we wanted to do it in God's eyes
Mm-hmm.
the right way, which is why I still believe that we're still here today. We're still together.
I'm gonna get mom's recount of everything, right? That's probably where I got the hill from. She
She was
had.
standing on a hill when I went to greet her for the first time. When she,
Okay, so that's what she remembers then, because
yeah,
obviously this is she doesn't
yeah,
know
this
that
is
you were
my
looking at her
perspective.
sitting down. Because
Hmm.
how she's always told me growing up was that she had her long curly hair. She said her hair was always curly. She's standing on a hill. Your dad was watching me playing drums, and I was like,
I don't know
but
what she's talking about, curly.
but no, I'm gonna get her on, and she'll tell her
Okay,
version, and
okay.
then I will
I don't remember her
I'll put
being,
them together.
unless she curled her hair. Because I
Oh,
remember seeing her on the first night, and then the second night she got saved.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can curl your hair in one night, eh?
But well, you left out a whole bunch of stuff, like
Oh
when
man,
you'd
yeah.
run up Grand's phone bill. Was no, not Grand,
No,
sorry,
no,
Pop
it was my
Auntie's.
sister,
Yeah,
sister
yeah,
Ada.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
your auntie
Yeah.
Ada. So, oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I remember when then we started dating and we started getting serious, and of course no sex or nothing like
Mhm.
that, because we knew it was wrong. We wanted
Yeah.
to wait till we're married, and um but there was a time when she was staying in Selkirk going to school, and I was home here going to school, and she would call, and we didn't have a phone at mom and dad's, so just Ada had a phone. And whenever she would call, Ada would come to the door, um, and then she would yell outside the door, Dwayne! Boy, and I went come running to the door, and I said, "What?" And then she says, "Cynthia on the phone." Okay, I'll be right. And I went running over, man. Didn't even put a jacket on or nothing. Went runners, and then boom, I was over there. And then I did that for maybe about a good, oh man, a good month, eh? And so this one time even, we stayed on the phone for 4 hours. Oh my gosh. My sister was so mad at me that night. And, and I think she just got sick of asking me to use her own phone now. I said, okay, I'm almost done, sister. I said, and anyways, that night, that one phone call equaled up to about $92. One phone call. And that was a lot of money back then, man. Oh my gosh. I think I'm pretty sure I was on, what do you call that? I was on Welly that time.
Uh-huh.
And I only got a little bit of money for welfare. I gave my sister half of it. I gave her $100. And oh my goodness, yeah, that was, but that's just the way it went, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
And I always respected and thanked my sister for that. And yeah, I always remember, Dwayne, Cynthia's on the phone.
That's my favorite story.
One of them, anyways. Oh my goodness, yeah. We have tons, but I mean, like I said, growing up in the times that we had, I believe that's why we are the way we are today, and
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't take nothing back. I wouldn't change nothing, thankful.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm content with what I mean. What more could a man ask for? I have a beautiful wife that loves me, a beautiful family, beautiful grandkids. I Nothing's perfect, but we got each other, and we have a home, that has running water, but we can't drink it. But still, we have water that we can get,
yeah.
and I mean, life doesn't get no, life will get better,
Mm-hmm.
but we're okay right now. We're good. Thankful. I have food in my fridge. I got shoes on my feet, clothes on my back. That's all that. That's all that. I'm okay with that. I'm all right.
This podcast is different than my previous episodes.
Well, I imagine, yeah.
I don't
I
think I've ever
seen,
been this quiet.
I seen this. I seen one of them. Yeah, yeah. I know. Well,
Well,
that's
cause when I get in your presence, it's always been kind of just like sit down, be quiet, and listen, and
no, 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 no.
that's
I
just
give you a
kind of
chance to
that's
talk
kind of
to.
my like. Okay, just
Yeah,
tell me.
but it's good. I'm thankful. Like I said, I always knew you were gonna do something with your life just because of
I'm
not
gonna do
just
lots of some
your
things,
oh yeah, yeah, for sure, not just
lots of
your
stuffs.
name,
Yeah,
but at the same time I always tell you, to you stay true to you.
yeah.
You stay true to yourself, and you always remain humble, and be thankful for what
Mm-hmm.
you have,
Mm-hmm.
because the next person you don't know that.
Mm. Well, that's I believe in that 100%. I believe in karma. I believe in like you get what you give,
Oh yeah.
so you need to be careful. I believe in that. I don't know where that came from, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. What you put out there, yeah, yeah, that's true. It's true. It's hard to take back words too, when you say them, eh?
mm,
So it's always
mm-hmm.
good. I always like to use that, that metaphor of toothpaste,
Yeah,
a visual,
yeah,
of toothpaste, and the toothpaste out and
yeah,
all on the table,
yeah,
and um, okay, now put the toothpaste back
yeah,
into,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and um, I always think about that, and I always try my best, to keep
Mm,
my words seasoned with salt,
mm,
so they're good to people that I come into contact with.
mm-hmm.
I believe that I want to spread as much good as I can for what time that I have, on Earth, and because we don't know. I always
Yeah,
remember my dad always used to say to me, you don't know the time. I don't know the time when we're gonna go,
yeah,
and it's something that always we see people. Um, in my day, we saw people, and they would say that those kind of things, and you would think, well, they're going to be here forever.
mm.
But we
That's my same
we
thought about you.
we witnessed them getting old, and then we witnessed them
I
dying.
had
You
that
know?
thought the other day, where I was like, I'm so like, well, I had this. It was such a weird position to be in because I'm like, when your kids are small, you're in that baby stage, and you're just imagining how they're gonna be when they're older. Or, oh, I can't wait till you're a little bigger and out of this crying and whining stage. And you spend so much of life wishing for time to move a little faster so that you can experience more with them, I guess, or so they can get out of those crying stages. But now that I'm older, and then I'm like, holy crap,
Mm.
like I'm getting old. And then it's like, and then I had to stop and be like, well, it's not just you, Shekinah. Like, look at your kids. Like, I look at Jeremiah and like, oh my God, that boy's in it. He's a teenager, and I was looking at him and his
Oh
friends, like,
man,
because
yeah,
I'm at the high school now, right? And I was like looking
yes,
at them, I'm like, I swear these boys were just 5 years old, like
yeah,
making mud pies outside and wanting
mm-hmm,
to be together. Well, they're still together all the
yeah,
time, you know, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then I had this, and then that other parallel came of like, well, look at your dad and your mom, like you're getting old, like they're getting old too, and I'm like,
Right, I know,
no.
I hear ya,
Well,
you
and I
know,
found out how old my uncle Barry is.
mm-hmm,
The last time I went and visit, oh, I'm going to visit them
mm-hmm,
tonight.
yeah.
But the last time I was there and he told me how old he was, I said, "Get the heck out of here!" I said, "No, you're not." He looks at me like, "Yes, I am." I looked at Auntie Nance. I said, "Well, what the heck? Like, no." I said, "There's no way." And she's like, "Your uncle looks good, eh?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna. That's for you." I'm like, "Whatever." I'm like, "But no, my uncle does not look his age." I'm like, "Holy
No, he
heck,
doesn't.
he
No.
does not." And you
Well,
don't either.
he's kept active
Well,
his
how old are
whole
you?
life, you know, and that's one thing that Barry has
Mm,
always he's always I've always known him for and looked up to him like that as one of the men I love to emulate in my life. He's a hard-working man and
mm-hmm.
always kept himself busy, you
Yeah.
know, and even though we do tease each other, I mean, we're always level-headed and speak truth with one another. Something I've always appreciated about him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my sister, I love her to death, you know, and thankful for both of them. My age, I'm over 50.
Over. Like,
52.
oh,
52.
that's not even okay.
Right?
You have no, because
No.
but I feel like as kids, and me being your kid, obviously, we grow up with this idea of like we don't have that concept of ever being without our parents, you know.
Hmm.
So like even for me right now in my grown age of 29,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
What?
yeah, I'm 29. I'm gonna be
I thought you were
30.
30, man.
I'm 30 in April.
Okay.
Anyways, so I don't have, I can't ever imagine. Well, I mean, I don't think anyone can ever imagine, living without their parents.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see that happening ever. For
If I
me,
if I could say something,
like,
like if I could interject there, I often think about that too, you know, and I try to think like, well, I wonder what I would say, you know, and then I would say, you always hear that, and I know it sounds cliche, don't mourn for me.
yeah,
Well, of course you can't say that because I know you're gonna, because you mourn for the absence
hmm,
that person was there, and
yeah,
now they're not there anymore. At the same time, um, your body is just a case.
hmm,
It's it's just it's just a case for your what's real
hmm,
inside, what's truly important inside, and that's your spirit.
yeah,
When you die, your spirit goes back to God, who gave you, you know, the life, and your spirit goes back to God. Your body goes back to the dust of the earth, to the dirt, you
yeah,
know, and it's, that's all it is the casing, and this is all we know. And so, a lot of times too, that natural, we live in the natural so much that we forget that there is a spiritual as well. And I think the spiritual is more real than um, the natural,
mm,
because it's the spirit that's going to endure
mm,
after this flesh is dead and gone,
mm-hmm,
and then our spirit goes back to God. Now, when I say it's more real, I watched the video today on Facebook, and in this video they were talking about a shooting that took place in, I think, in somewhere in the states, in Nashville, just recently.
mm-hmm,
And in this shooting, They were talking about these children that were playing outside in
Mhm.
kindergartners. So it was what, 5 or 6 years old, and there was a number of them playing outside. There was a recess time, so they were all playing outside, and then I guess these young people that were doing the shooting, they walked right by these kids. They didn't even know, they walked right by these kids there, and then in this video it says that when they got inside, they went and they did their shooting. God rest those poor souls in peace. And and when it was found out later that those kids were asked, "Did you see two gentlemen walk in?"
Mhm.
And they said, "Yeah, we saw them." So there was a number of kids that did see those two
Mhm.
boys walking in with those guns, and they said they seen them, but they didn't see us. And those kids said, some of those other kids, they said that there was like a big, gigantic, all they could describe it was like a golden ball around us, they said, and that was cutting off them from seeing us. So I'm assuming that by the grace of God, that those young guys didn't see
Mhm.
those kids too, and
Wow.
that's God's protection. And
Mhm.
I believe more than we know it,
Mhm.
more than we know it, that God's protection is
Oh
on
yeah.
our lives
Mhm.
more than we know it.
Mhm.
And I thank God for that. I thank God
Mhm.
for His protection. Especially upon us and you guys, the grandkids.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, coming back to what I was saying there, like I'd always tell mom this because I'm like, I don't think I ever have to worry about. There's this saying where, but it's hard because I'm a mother now too. But
Mm-hmm.
I always, well, I think like before kids, I used to say to mom like, well, I don't ever have to worry about, um, knowing life without you because I'm going to go before you, or if you go, I
Mm-hmm.
go with you. Like I don't know where you think you're going without me. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is just another one of those things. Like, well, I'm just gonna have to come with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just, and then so, but now I'm like, now that I'm a mom, I'm like, I'm sure my kids, think the same about me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to think because you guys have lived a life without me, so
Mm-hmm.
you know a life without me.
Oh
But now
yeah.
that I'm here, it's hard to imagine without. And like I feel like the same is for you. Like you guys are like all I've known.
You
Like
mean you mean lived without you, meaning you moved out of our house?
no, meaning just life before me.
Oh
Like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
life before me, life before
Well,
having
well,
me.
well, yeah,
And all
but
I know is you guys. So how am I supposed to go on without you?
we didn't know what it was like to have kids though.
I know, but I'm saying that's my question is what like how do you go on without the people that you've known your entire life?
Wow, that's a
How
tough question, and you're never gonna. I can't give you an answer because you got to experience it.
I don't want to. I
Yeah, I
refuse. That's
know,
one of those things I
and
refuse to
and
experience.
like I said, that's not up to you. That's not your choice.
Some
Um,
things should be my choice.
well, if they were, then you could create a lot more trouble for yourself than you'd like. But anyways,
Well, I just
that
encourage
some things are
annual
just out
physical
of
checkups and making sure you're in tip top shape. And
something.
I'd like some heads up.
Some things are out of our some things are out of our control.
Well, yeah, we don't know the day or the hour of when
Yeah,
that time will
yeah.
come.
No, you're
No,
referencing
I'm
the
talking.
coming of Christ there.
I know, but
Yeah,
it could be the same
you
could
stay true to
apply
the
to the
context of
same could
Scripture.
apply to your life. We don't know when that will happen.
No, yeah,
But
yeah.
you make sure you're healthy, make sure your ducks are in a row so that you're not taken by something ridiculous like vitamin deficiency.
Like,
Well, I don't know. That's a thing.
okay, yeah. I appreciate your concern.
Just make sure you're good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I
That's all
will.
I
I
ask.
will. Yes,
Jeez,
yes.
alive. Because
Both
I
mom and
want
I
you
will.
to
We
come
we
back
have
on.
that planned. Yes, we have that
And
planned.
well, I've been pushing you for a while to do that. But,
Next
anyways.
question.
So, this isn't the last time I want you to come on here.
Okay.
I love listening to you talk about like your Bible college days or the church
Oh my
stories
gosh. I
or
remember one time, I remember one time,
long time ago.
long time ago, when we used to play this game. It was called Risk.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, it was world domination, and just the guys would play it. The women would be sitting there drinking tea and laughing the way aunties did. I think that's the origin of the auntie laugh. Anyways, we didn't realize it at the time, but now it's an internet meme. So this one time we were playing Risk, and oh my gosh, I was tired. It was like 10 o'clock, and I was tired. We had to get up early the next morning, and go off to school. So, anyways, the boys took the game. There was three three other guys that were playing the game. William was one of them,
Yeah.
Uncle William, and uh, can't remember who the other two were, but Aaron and Darwin, I think his name was. Anyways, they went. They played at William's place. This is when William and Phyllis used to be together.
Hmm.
So they had their own apartment a little ways from where we lived. So they all those boys packed up the game. They remembered where their pieces were, how much they counted, how many guys they had on each country, and then they took all that information back to Williams. Started playing. So Auntie Phyllis, she was okay with it. Said, "Yeah, yeah, you guys come on over and play the game at our house." So they did. I guess went to school the next day. No William, no Aaron, and no Darwin. And then I said, "Wonder where these guys are." And so we went to school the next day, and then the next day we seen them, and they're seen them. And as soon as I locked eyes with them, I knew something happened. I just didn't know what. So I asked them. I said, "Where were you guys yesterday? Missed you guys at school." And he asked me for my notes, and I said, "Well, tell me what happened first." And then so he says, "You know what?" He says, "We were playing the game, man, and we were right into it, and we were just loud." He says, and Phyllis got after us a number of times before that, and this last time, I guess she got fed up. She came in the living room. She picked up the board game with all of the hundreds of pieces on there. She carried it out into the hallway, and then she kicked us all out. I said, "So what did you guys do?" She says, "Well, we picked up the pieces, we put them all into the box, and we went over to Darwin's to play."
Oh my
So we didn't finish till about 8 o'clock the next morning. I said, "You guys, oh my
Holy.
gosh, man."
I'm gonna have to ask Uncle Will about that.
You
But I was,
do. You do.
as we were
Oh.
reminiscing here, I
Yeah.
remember growing up, always visiting at Uncle and Auntie's and Uncle Will. One thing I remember always, you could be minding your own indigenous affairs, just walking or
Yeah.
sitting, whatever, and he
Yes.
comes out of nowhere, grabs you by your head, and what does he say?
Yeah, yeah. In the name of Jesus.
Jesus! And he shoves you just hard.
Yeah.
But one thing I always remember too about my Uncle Will, I love my Uncle Will, and I always remind him of this every time I do get a chance to sit with him. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Hey, Uncle, remember, like, Goldeye wasn't Goldeye. At the Knoll residence there, it was just bush. Like, the bus would always turn around there, and it was just bush, you know? And so I remember I don't know if they were clearing it, they were doing
Yeah.
something, but Uncle took us for a walk back there.
Mhm.
Me, Elisha, Mike, and all those girls, and
Mhm.
went for a walk back there. He's leading the way,
Yeah.
and one minute he's telling us stories and whatever, he's walking, and all of a sudden he freaking trips. He trips over something, and all you hear is he goes down. Holy Jesus! And then he's boom. My uncle.
Oh my goodness, yeah, yeah. Oh, I tell you, William is he's one of a kind.
He is.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love my uncle.
yeah. He's been a brother that's been there for ages.
We'll have to
Grew
get
grew up
together for a
together.
game night one of these nights again.
Yeah, for sure.
And not wait till the family gathering. I don't even know
Excuse
where
me.
that's happening, but
Yes, yes, I'd support
yeah.
that 100%.
and we need to get you back on here to talk more about your stories.
Oh, that yeah, I'm down. Me, I'm down. I always try to stay as hip as possible.
my god.
I mean, geez, when you teach a bunch of grade 3 students, you need to stay on top of things. Excuse me.
I don't think kids say hip anymore.
Whatever it is they say, but I just want to say thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm
and
excited. I want to do more of these because I'll
yes.
have these forever and ever and ever. And it's a
Mm.
nice way to document stories and
See, if I could have did this with my mom and dad, I would have.
mm,
All I have is memories,
that's good.
except the VHS.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
But
nobody can ever take that though.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But that's one thing I want to do too with our elders in the community. I'd like to visit with them
do
and just
it.
get history of Fish River because I know we're trying to build that curriculum, you know?
Yep.
And there's nothing like visiting with an elder. Like I would love to
Time
just
is your enemy.
yeah, yeah. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I want to get on right away. So that's why I'm trying to get more episodes out and get more and I like to keep it conversational. And of course this one I'm mostly listening and kind of interjecting here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but this
Mm-hmm.
is the vibe that I would do with an elder where it's just me listening to them.
Absolutely.
And of course giving them a set of questions, you know, cuz you have to give an
Well,
elder
yeah.
some direction.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there for hours and
Yep.
hours, which is okay. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
okay. But I don't think we could have like a 3 to 4 hour podcast.
No.
That will be
No,
hard to edit.
I mean, give them some content at
Yeah.
least what to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
and
yeah.
direction. You know,
Mhm.
this is what we want to know from you. We're gathering information and
Yeah.
we need your help
Mhm.
in order to, guide who we're guiding the right way
And
as well.
just preserve your
Oh
stories.
yes,
Like
yeah.
that's my goal is to preserve stories. And I like I was telling I think it was Janine or Chelsea where one of my names was supposed to be 1,000 lives later for the
Mm,
podcast because I look at and I've heard this term before of referencing humans as like these
yeah.
human dictionaries
Mm,
and the stories and the lives and just the journeys that the individuals have been on you would never even know until you
mm.
sit down and get talking with them and they start remembering things that they didn't remember before, you know, and get
Well, I
talking
remember a
about
long time ago somebody
it.
told me, that our people, and the way they put it was eloquent.
Mm,
The way our people are acquainted with grief.
mm,
Our people have been acquainted with hardship and turmoil and trauma. It's like that's all we know.
mm,
And even this incident that took place we see in Winnipeg involving the young man.
mm,
Um, all these things, these racist, happenings,
mhm,
events, and that, and our people have been acquainted with this for a long time. And I thought about it, and some of it makes me upset, yes,
mhm,
of course, but at the same time, I thought, you know, we're very strong.
mm,
Our people are very strong
mhm,
because we're going through it and we're still
mhm,
surviving. There's a lot of things that we need to fix, yes,
mhm,
I do believe that. But it's up to each and every individual to do their own homework.
mhm.
They have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Nobody can help them do that. They gotta. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink.
Mhm.
They have to want that for themselves. And I believe that when we do get to that place, I believe that this world is gonna get a heck of a lot better.
Yeah, it is. You can see it.
Hmm. I believe that. Yes, absolutely, 100%. So
All right.
yes.
Should we end it there?
In conclusion,
How'd you like it?
I can't wait till the next one.
I know, me too. I'm
I know,
excited.
yeah, it's good. It's good. You know, next one, I think we should have a little bit more. Um, oh, Jesus, this It's hard to say have a set of questions,
Mm.
but and then I can just go and tell
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
stories about different things and that. I know this was more reserved,
Mhm.
you know, deadly unfiltered reserved. But it's
Mm.
good. It's good. I really enjoyed it and appreciate it, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm
Good.
booked. I'm booked till like end of April.
Right on.
I have a lot of people wanting to come on, which I'm so grateful for. I'm happy because our next set of topics coming up, like we touch on sobriety, we touch on relationships, and um, like we talk about. in times of tragedy and coming out of that. And we talk about chaos and addictions in the home and how do we break those cycles as adults. And
Mm,
I'm really excited for those ones. They're really going to be, and they're not always heavy. You know, I want to come
no,
on here and
yeah,
when, and even in the episodes that may be a little heavy, there's
yeah.
always some joy. That's the good thing about our people, you know, is we can, in the midst of
Oh
so
man,
much chaos
yeah.
or
We
hurt
can
or
laugh.
anything, we
Yeah.
can laugh.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not
And
laughing
see,
at our circumstances.
no,
It's just we're just always
we're
able to
laughing.
find the
We're
joy.
laughing in them,
Yeah.
and that
You
that's a
have to.
that's a
That's why we
strength.
survive.
Yes, that's a strength in
We
itself,
have to.
and that's a beauty. I guess of one of our strengths is that being able to possess that joy simultaneously with the grief,
Mhm. Mhm.
and being able to laugh
Yeah.
in spite of the hurt in the
Mhm.
heart.
Mhm.
And I see it a number of times.
Yeah.
I love it the way our people can do that,
Yeah.
and at the same time, let's keep on encouraging one another. And this is a great
Mhm.
way to do it.
Mhm.
If you're struggling, or if you're feeling in any way
Mhm.
inferior, or it doesn't matter if you're struggling with addiction or anything like that, listen and have an open mind, have an
Mhm.
open ear,
Mhm.
listen to what's being said on here, take it to heart,
Mhm.
and who knows, maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, maybe you'll be on here as well.
I
Um,
encourage if
yeah.
anybody, and I've said that if anybody ever has anything that they like to talk about, anything they feel passionate about, get in touch with me. Let's get you on here and
hmm
let's talk. Like
I have I
that's
have
what it
some
is. Yeah.
people that I know for sure that I want to get on here,
Yeah.
and
I have a
then
list.
yeah,
I have a list of
because
I call it my wish list. Like I would like to get
uh
leadership on here.
yeah.
I'd like to get obviously my elders on here. I'd like to get I I have so many ideas and plans and I look forward to them.
Yes, awesome, awesome,
Okay.
beautiful.
We can end there. Thank you.
Egose, thank you, Egose.